70,000 years ago, something happened that nearly ended the human story before it began. A supervolcano in what is now Sumatra erupted with a force so catastrophic that it darkened the sky for years. Temperatures dropped, plants died, animals vanished. Scientists call it the Toba catastrophe, and according to some researchers, it reduced the entire human population on Earth to somewhere between 3,000 and 10,000 people. Think about that. Every single human alive today, 8 billion of us, may descend from a group smaller than your school. But here's what nobody talks about. Some of them survived by living inside the volcano's shadow. And what archaeologists found there recently rewrote everything we thought we knew about human resilience. To understand the survivors, you need to understand what they survived. Toba wasn't a regular volcano. It was, and still is, one of the largest volcanic systems on Earth. When it erupted approximately 74,000 years ago, it released roughly 2,800 cubic kilometers of material into the atmosphere. For comparison, the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980, which killed 57 people and flattened entire forests, released about 1 cubic kilometer. Toba released 2,800 times that. The ash clouds spread across South Asia, the Indian Ocean, and East Africa. In some parts of India, archaeologists have found ash deposits 6 meters deep. 6 meters. That's the height of a 2-story building, just in ash. The eruption triggered what scientists call a volcanic winter, a period where sunlight couldn't penetrate the atmosphere properly. Global temperatures may have dropped by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius for years, possibly decades. For early humans living off the land, hunting animals and gathering plants, this was essentially an apocalypse. So who survived and how? For decades, scientists assumed the answer was simple. The humans lucky enough to be far from the eruption, in refugia, small pockets of habitable land that escaped the worst effects. But in 2018, something extraordinary was discovered in South Africa at a site called Pinnacle Point. Archaeologists found human remains and tools dating to directly after the Toba eruption. These humans hadn't fled the disaster zone. They had adapted inside it. What they found suggested these people had developed surprisingly sophisticated survival strategies. They were eating shellfish, a food source that doesn't disappear during volcanic winters because the ocean buffers temperature changes. They were using pigments, possibly for communication or ritual. They were making specialized tools. In other words, when the world ended, these humans got smarter. There's a theory among some researchers that the Toba catastrophe didn't just nearly kill humanity, it accelerated it. The extreme pressure of survival may have forced rapid cultural and cognitive innovation, the kind that eventually led to everything we are today. Suffering, in the deepest possible sense, may have made us human. Here's where it gets personal. Because of Toba, your DNA carries a scar. Geneticists studying human populations noticed something strange. Humans have remarkably low genetic diversity compared to other great apes. A single group of chimpanzees in one African forest has more genetic variation than all 8 billion humans on Earth combined. This suggests that at some point the human population crashed so severely that almost everyone alive today descends from a tiny founding group. This is called a genetic bottleneck. And Toba is the leading candidate for what caused it, which means the people who survived inside that volcanic shadow Those few thousand individuals eating shellfish on African coastlines, huddling in caves, making tools in the dark, are your direct ancestors. Not metaphorically, literally. Every person you've ever met, every historical figure you've ever studied, every human who ever lived in the last 70,000 years traces back to that tiny group of survivors. We think of human history as this grand inevitable march, civilizations rising, technology advancing, progress building on progress. But it almost didn't happen. There was a moment, 70,000 years ago, when you could have fit every human alive into a small town, when one bad winter, one failed hunt, one disease could have ended everything. They survived. We don't fully know how, but they did. And every time you think a situation is impossible to come back from, remember that your existence is proof that someone already did. If you want to go deeper on human origins, the real stories, not the textbook version, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.